Welcome back to another episode of Weekend Tech. Today we're going to be looking at how to create a Node package, and we're also going to publish it to npmjs. Let's get started. I'm going to open up terminal, and so the thing that we're going to create is an .env template generator. So to give you an idea, let's first create a directory, gen env template. So open that up. So if you've worked with Node project, I'm sure you've consumed environment variables, and the way this works is usually so all the secrets for your app are put in environment variables, and there are packages that can read a .env file and put them in process.env. That's how you consume them in Node.js. So for now, let's just create a sample env, and for example, let's say we have our node env equals development. We have our db connection string. Connection, if I can type that right. Connection string equals some random value. So some host, let's say for just writing random values right now. So db name, username, So and there can be a whole lot more, right? Depending on what your app requires, you put all of those environment variables in your .env file, and since these are essentially secrets, they shouldn't be pushed into source control. To write a sort of documentation around this, what we usually do is create a template.env, and we put all those values there, but omit the actual values. So at least the developer who is going to run this app, they have a fair idea of what environment variables this app is consuming, and they can fill those in. So we want to automate this. We have the env file that we are going to write the actual variables into, and what I want to generate is this template file. And I found an npm package for this actually. If I so let's do an npm init-y, or we can install it directly, npm env template, and this does a fair job of generating a template, but I did find a couple of issues. Let me install that and show it to you. And by the way, I think I should probably use I use npm, so we'll wait for that to finish, and I can actually show you what it generates. So if I do that, so it's a script, so it gets symlinked into the .bin directory inside node modules. So if I open if I run this and I pass the path to my env file, it generates .env.template, which is this one. And you see there are a couple of issues in that package. One being, if the lines are empty, it does this. It adds an empty entry, which is not exactly right. Also, if I have comments, so for example, if I want to explain that this is my db connection string, and I can probably put a sample value saying sample, this is how it should look like. And if I run this again, this package doesn't take into consideration comments. What it does is it tries to eliminate equal signs. So there are a couple of bugs in that package. So I thought I could probably open a PR and fix those. But unfortunately, if I show you the npmjs page for it, they haven't put their GitHub URL, so I can't go there. So the username, I searched the user on GitHub and Twitter, couldn't find anything. So I thought let's create our own package. So okay, let's get started. So I'm going to close all of these. I'm going to also delete my template that I generated, the template I wrote by myself, the package JSON, and node modules, and the log file. Cool. So and I think for easier understanding, I'm going to be using npm for this rather than pnpm, but you could potentially use anything, npm yarn or pnpm, anything works. So first let's do an npm minute, which is going to create a new project. So yeah, generate env template is the name I want, which is fine. I'm going to start with 0.0.1. Description, generate .env template files from env, and entry point is going to be index.js. That doesn't really matter right now, but for I'm going to put everything in an src folder, so I'm going to put that. Test command is going to be jest, and git repository. So we don't have one yet, so I'm going to leave that empty. Keywords would be .env, maybe env template, and generator, and a CLI tool. And I'm going to be using the MIT license, so looks fine. So this is the file that's going to get written. Looks fine. There's one thing I want to change, which is the author. I'm going to put my email just in case somebody wants to use this. Cool. So now we have our node project, and yeah, let's init git as well, so we can add. And I usually do an empty commit at the beginning. So let's do initial commit. Cool. So I have an empty commit right now, and I can add the package JSON and say create a project. Oops. Cool. So we have our npm package. Now what we want to do is start writing some code, right? But a couple of things that we want to set up, like testing and stuff. So let's just install jest, and this will allow us to write some unit tests for this. So here I can create my entry point, which is index.js, and I'm going to also create a test folder. Let's make it this. I'm waiting for just to finish, but we can write some code by then. So what I want to do is I'm going to be exporting my main function from this, and the way I'm going to do that is do module.exports equal my gen env template function, and I haven't created this, so let's do that. So creating a file called gen env template, and here I can create that that method. And let's just export the same thing. Cool. So we have our function. For now, we can just do a console log and check if everything is working. Gen env template, and what else? Right. So let's just run this. If I do node dot, it's going to run the entry point, which is my index.js. Currently it doesn't have anything, so it's just print. Let's just call it, because that's going to do a console log anyway. So okay, it does work, right? So we can remove this, and yeah, cool. So now let's write a sample test, because just got installed. So let's do gen env template.js, describe. So gen env template. Let's import that. which is an src/that, and since it's a function I can just do .name. And to test this, what we can do is, anyway this is going to return the template string, right? So we can just, for now, rather than doing a console log, let's just return that actual string itself. Cool. So now if I write a test and say should return name the project, because that's what it is right now. And do expect gen this to equal gen n template, and if I do an npmt, it did pass. If I change it to something else, it should fail, and it does because I added an extra exclamation. So cool. So our tests are working. We have I should have made a commit when I installed Jest, but let's do that right now. First, let's ignore the node modules folder. So this is going haywire because there are a lot of files from node modules, but all we want to do is add the git ignore and ignore the node modules folder. Cool. So if I refresh this, only these files are changing. Let's also add the package saying install Jest for testing. And now we can, I should have ignored the template as well, or the env file as well, because that's never pushed into code, into source control. So here let's just do ignore .env files. Cool. And since we have a basic structure ready, we can also do setup project structure. Oops, should have added those first. So we have a basic project structure, we have just installed, and now I can write some code. So if you look at this file, the env file, this is the input to our CLI tool. And by the way I'm going to be using this package is somebody goes to npm, somebody goes to the terminal, they do npm i-g, or they can also install this in a folder and does gen env template, and now they should get a CLI tool, a command that they can use to do their template generation, right? That's exactly how env template works, which I think we still have installed, not sure. No, we don't. Cool. Let me install it globally and I can show it to you. Cool. So now see, this got added. That means if I do a which, that's been added to my path. So that's basically a CLI command, right? So to do that, what we can do is in our package JSON, we can add a new field here. It can be anywhere really, called bin, and this can mean object. And here you can write the name of the executable. So for example, env template has the command as env template. So we're gonna make it gen env template, and then we need to write a command that gets run whenever this is executed, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do node, and the file that gets run is going to be src/, we haven't created this file yet, but I'm going to put it in src/bin/gen env, or let's just make it cli.js, because for us it's just one CLI file, right? So now if I do and the way to test this would be npm i-g file and dot, that means install the current folder as a global package. and what that will do is run this install this package JSON as a global tool on our system. So we'll wait for that. Got an error. Oh, the file isn't there, right? So let me add that in. So it's in bin and then CLI.js. For now, let's just do a console. We can actually use our template itself. So I'm going to copy this entire from index.js and put it in CLI.js. And what I'm going to do here is just do gen env template. I'm just going to call it. So that's going to print that gen env template in the console. So now if I install it again, not find no such file directory. Oh, my bad. So the only thing I need is the path to the file itself. So if I do that again, hopefully this should work. Cool. So now that works. That means whenever you see this command also got added, right? That means whenever somebody installs this package, they will have a command called gen env template, which when executed is going to run this with the node REPL. Node interpreter. So node, now I can do gen env template, and oops. Oh, the path is wrong, right? So this is // I think I might have to install it again. Oh, right. So I understood what the issue is. So right, so the reason we're getting this issue, this error, is because in our package JSON we just wrote this, right? This needs to understand where how to run this file, and right now it's going to be executed through, this is ZSH, so it's going to try to execute this command as a script, which we don't want. We would rather want it to execute through the node interpreter, right? So to fix that, what we have to do is we have to add something called as a shebang, and here we can do node. I think this should work. Let's give that a try. So now if I do gen, nothing got printed, which is a little bit weird. Oh, we're returning that thing, right? So we can just do console. I forgot that we removed the console log. So now we can do npm. There's a way to link this as well. I'm not going to do that. That might get a little bit complicated. But now you see the command works. So whatever we put in this file, it's going to find node. So what this shebang does, it means that execute this file with this command. So it's going to do, it's going to use node to execute all of this code, which is what we want. This is JavaScript. So we have our basic setup ready with the CLI. So I'm going to add those packages, those files, and let's just do setup CLI command. Cool. So now you see there are two things that we have to do. One is the actual function that generates our template files, and the other one being the CLI tool that allows you to execute this function through the command line. Here is where we'll have to put the code to read a file and all of that stuff. So for now we're going to focus on this function, and what we'll do is this will expect the contents of the env file to be passed into this as a string, and then we'll generate the template and return it. So to do that, let's open. So we're going to be doing TDD right now. So here the first test that I want to do is should return empty string if env is empty, right? Because if there's no env, there's no content in the env, the expectation is that there shouldn't be any output as well. So that's what I did. Now I'm going to run the tests on watch mode, so they always keep getting executed. This is going to fail, and we can just fix it by doing that. So the first cycle of virtuality is done. Next, let's do a test where should remove value of key value pairs. So what that means is, if I have my env file string has this. Oops. So let's say my file had what node env equals development. Let's just write it in one line for now. And if I expect the gen template on this, this should equal this should only have node env equals, because the value should get stripped off, right? So currently it's not working because we've hard-coded it there. So let's fix that. Also, if you see you're not getting IntelliSense for this, so to fix that, we're going to install npm it's a development thing, type /jest. So that should fix that. Now let's implement this. So here what we're going to do is we're going to expect the env file string here, and just do so what we can do is var a key name. The key name is going to be just the env file string dot split of equal to, right? So that of 0, that's going to give us the key name. Now we can just return the key name equals. Let's see if that worked. Probably split of undefined. So the reason it failed is because here we're not passing anything, and it failed, which makes sense. What we can do is I can just make this have a default value of equal to, and the second test failed because we're trying to set it to equal to, right? So here we can just do a check if env file string equals empty, just return an empty string. So now both of those passed. Hopefully we're getting IntelliSense. Yeah, so now you see all the jest IntelliSense will show up. Cool. So let's add this. So git add package. Let's check what files got added. Cool. So I can just do install typings for jest. Now since our basic tests are running, I am also going to commit all of this, saying generate or let's just say strip env values from .env file. Cool. Now let's do a bit more complex things like multiple values, right? So should remove or should remove values for all key value pairs, because the env file is going to have multiple values, not just one. So if I copy this, here the template string is going to have that on the first line. On the second line, let's do db connection string equals, so for now let's just put a random value, not going to write the entire thing. Now this should return that, and it should also return db connection string. This should fail, and it did. Because this wasn't there, right? And because we've not put the for loop in our code. So let's fix that. So, and to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop to a map on this. So env file string.map. Oh, I'm going to have to do a split first. Split of that, and then we can do a map. I'm going to ignore the line endings for now, but that might be an issue later. So this is going to be key value string, and that's where we'll change things. So this is going to be this, and then return that. So we have all the values stripped. Now what we can do is we can do a join, and we'll just do ./n or \n. So now here we'll do template file string, and now let's just return the template file string. So what failed? So we received that, and let's just see what we received, right? So we can just throw this value. I'm not really sure why it failed. So it returned only the first line, which is weird. Oh, right, should have split that. So now two things have failed. Let's see why. So we have the key value string, we're splitting it. Okay, let's just run it and see what happens. Oh, let me remove this part. So there's an equal to that is, oh, we forgot to add that in the expect. Cool, so that is working. And there are a couple of issues here that I'll talk about later, but for now this is fine. So basically those values are getting stripped off, and if you see we expected only the first equal to be there, which is correct. We've split it from here, right? So it's fine. Now let's handle comments, and before that let's just do a commit. Template for multi-line files. Cool. So now we've handled a fair amount of the things that the other package did. Now let's do should not modify comments, or rather should preserve empty lines, which that package didn't do. Let's do that. So here if I do const env file string equals this thing, but let's say there are a couple of empty lines here, that means my expect should also have those empty lines. So that will be gen env template. Let's just put one empty line. To equal. I'm going to copy this value. So now this failed, right? Because that we've not handled that. So let's try to fix that. So let's see what the exact error is. So expected an empty line, but we don't have that in the received. So let's fix that. So here let's do this is the current line. So let's rename this variable, because this might not have the key value string all the time. So current line string, and then here we can check if it is a new line. So if it is a new line, or rather if an empty line, if it is an empty line, we can check it like this. We can do current line string dot trim. If that is equal to empty string, then it's obviously an empty line, right? So here we can return is empty. We will return that. So that will fix our empty issue. Oh, it didn't. Weird. Trim equals that. That's odd, right? Oh, got it. So the issue with this is, yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about anyway, is this has these empty spaces. So what we can do is we can return the current line itself. That didn't fix it as well. Oh, right. That's because in this line as well there are empty spaces, and to fix that we're going to have to do a couple of things, but for now if I put it here, that should have solved it. So expected is this, and received should preserve empty lines, and just want to check what it is actually returning. I might have to debug the code and see, but let's see. Let's try just doing a console log first. So it returned that and that. So the empty line didn't get returned, right? Why did that happen? We have this, we have that. Let's do a console log on each. Let's just do it this way so that we know what we're printing, and I'm only going to run this test. So the first line was this, which is fine. Second line is empty, which is also fine. Third line is this. So I think in the third line what will happen is this. Let's also print what we're actually returning now. So here let's do var template for current line equals that, and then return that. And here I'm going to do a console log. So this looks fine. There's something wrong with the empty spaces part. So let's check what the test is. I'm going to eliminate all of that by doing this. So basically remove all the empty spaces and do that from the env as well. And here I can remove that. So now that passed, right? So yeah, now I understood what the issue is. So if I write it like this, that will still work. the issue was this: there was empty spaces here, so that's why it was failing. But yeah, now that's fixed, so we can remove this. And for now, I'm going to comment out these console logs. We might need them later. So all of the tests are passing. So let's do a new commit. And what the hell? Let's just remove the console log as well. So here, let's do preserve empty lines. Great, so that's done. Now let's handle comments. So should not modify comments, and to test that, let's just use this. And here let's add a comment saying this is the database connection, and that line should be as is in the template. Now that will obviously fail, so we need to check if the current line is a comment. So to check if it's a comment, what we can do is we can do a current line string, we'll trim it, and then we'll see if the first value is a pound, and if it is indeed a comment, we're going to return the same thing. And that worked. So basically we have our basic package. Obviously there are a lot of other things that one needs to take care of, like I don't know, what else could you, yeah, line endings is one thing. Not entirely sure how it will perform on Windows, but I'm definitely going to add that in. So for now, let's assume that this is our basic package. We want to publish this, so I'm going to add that in. I'm going to do a commit saying handle comments in env file. Cool, that's done. Now the thing is, we still don't have a way to use the CLI, because the only thing that we've written so far is the function itself. We still need to find if the file exists. We need to read the file, pass the contents of that file into this function, then print out the template file, right? So to do that, we're going to be doing things in the CLI.js file. Cool. So now that we've written the actual function that generates the template file from the .env file, or rather the actual string, we need to implement the CLI for this, right? So there are a couple of ways of doing this, and I'm not entirely sure how long this video is, so I'm going to skip the TDD part. When I do upload this code on GitHub, and I will share that link, you can see the tests that I've written for them, so that's going to be helpful for you. But for now, I'm just going to write the actual code, and we'll see how that goes. So first, what we need to do is we need to read the actual file, right? So here we can do require fs, and this is going to be, fs has a thing called promises, and promises has promises dot read file, so that is going to read it and return the buffer as a promise. And obviously to use that, we're going to have to create an async method, so let's do that. So here we can do CLI gen env template, and this is async. So we're going to read the file. So env file string. I'm not going to bother adding the test for whether or not the file exists. I'll do that later, and put that in the code base. So here let's do promises.read file, and here we can pass in the path to the exact file, right? So here I can get that from here. env file path equals process.argv of 2. That's because the first one is node, second one is the path to this script, which is cli.js, and second one should give us the actual file path. So now we have the file, which is a buffer. So let's just pass the we need to pass the file path first, I think. Yes. So the file path is env file, and here we can pass the encoding. Let's just use UTF-8. So we have the exact string here where it's a promise, so I can await this. And now since I have the method to generate the template file from this env string, I can do template file string equals gen env template of the env file string. Oops. And now all I need to do is write this to the output. Output path is going to be, by default, let's create template.env, or else if they do pass it, we can get it from arg3. Oops. So let's do promises.write file, output path, and what else? The data as a string, so template file string, and the encoding, which is UTF-8. Cool. We need to await this as well. So at this point our template file is done, and we can, so this was an async method, right? So we need to run it. Just going to do it like so. Now if we do an npm I of this folder, now we're going to test it with our env file, and obviously had we written the tests for the actual CLI file, all of this would have gotten tested, but for now let's just do it this way. So now it's going to be gen env template, and here I can pass .env. Hopefully this works. So it did create a template env, so something's working, and looks exactly like the env file I wrote by hand, right? These values have been stripped off, and it's working exactly as I wanted. And obviously I'm going to add the tests for this so that it's much more robust, works on Windows and all of that good stuff. But for now I think we're ready to publish this. So what I'm going to do first is, since this is a template file and this project itself doesn't have any env files, I'm going to ignore that as well, because I'm going to test the command again and again. I want to add that in my git. So ignore template env as well. Yeah, let's just try if it actually writes to other file. It does, so that's working great. Delete that. Now let's bump the version to 1.0.0, and then any changes I make to this, I can publish it. So in my CLI, I can just do, not vomit, git commit read.env and write template env file to CLI. So that's done. Now let's add the package JSON and say bump version to 1.0.0. And now let me log out from npm because I'm going to publish this. So when I do if you want to publish this through GitHub Actions, I can make a video on that as well if you're interested. But for now, let's just do it directly manually. So I'm going to do npm login. It's going to ask me for my username. Hopefully that is it. My npm package, my password, and my email. So now I'm logged in. Now if I do npm publish, it should push it to npmjs. Let's see if that works. And it is up on npmjs. So let's open gen env template. Not sure if it will show up right away, but let's give it a try anyway. So it is up and running. Great. I have not added the git URLs as well, but I should do that, and a readme, of course. I'll do that and also give this what do you call it? The GitHub URL for this. And yeah, let's just remove the gen env template that I installed from my local and install the one from npmjs. So let's do npm i-g gen env template, and most likely it's going to, yeah, it did install the first version. So here, let's try that. Oh, should have removed the template. Great. So yeah, that was a quick video on how to create an npm package and also publish it to npmjs. If you want to see a video on how to do this through GitHub Actions, basically rather than publishing the package manually by yourselves, what we do is whenever there's a PR to develop our main branch, you run a CI that tests all your jest tests, and once the PR gets merged into the main or develop branch, we publish the package directly through GitHub Actions. So no manual intervention required at all. So if you want that video, do let me know in the comments, or also check out my Instagram pages. I have a couple of pages. One is for photography stuff, which is at Mr. Saurav Sahu. The other one is for coding related stuff like this, which is @saurav.codes. Be sure to follow them. I post, currently I'm doing a series on cloud computing, and I post tips and tricks on CLI as well. So yeah, hopefully you like this video. Give it a like, subscribe to my channel. Highly appreciate it. Alright, have a great weekend. Bye bye.